Hey YouTube, what's going on? Smartalik here, and I'm bringing you a hot, saucy Fireball Sorcerer build today. This is going to be exciting. We have streamed this character one time. We've played it twice. We're already at level 78, so it is growing fast. We are definitely going to try to empower this one just for the fun of it. But this is a Fireball build. We are running Fireball. We're running Flame Ward, Meteor, Teleport, and Volcanic Orb just for that sexy, juicy damage Volcanic Orb is doing. We may end up getting rid of it at some point, maybe do Focus or Ascendancy. We'll see. But we are going to show you a little bit of a guide on this. We're going to walk through, of course, the skills, the gear, and the passives. And then we're going to talk about leveling just a little bit and run a quick monolith and show you how this plays. Basically, the rotation is you're just shooting everything with fireballs. And we are running that in succession, so we're doing a lot of good 10, 12,000 crit damage. All the balls are hitting the target. And then when we want extra damage, we're dropping Flame Ward, maybe a Meteor for extra base crit chance. But let's talk about the skills and show you how they work. So obviously the main thing we're doing here is Fireball. We start with Fireball right away. We are grabbing 3 into Winged Fire, 1 into X Fire Spray for the extra projectiles, 1 into Embers so that the projectiles fire in a sequence and all projectiles can hit the same target. Without Embers, only one Fireball can hit the same target at a time. So this allows for all that damage to stack. Of course, it does give us minus projectiles, 50%. And minus cast speed, but we're making that back up with 2 into Dancing Fires, which gives us +2 projectiles. So between these +2, that +2, and the base projectiles, we are hitting pretty hard. We grab 2 into Ignite Chance for that 50%. We grab 3 into Flammability for Fire Resistance Shred, and then Fireballs now seek the target with Seeker's Ash, so this gives it the homing ability that you saw in the intro video, and you'll see this when we run the Monolith. Right away then, we jump into Flame Ward, and Flame Ward is giving us a crap ton of damage. We got 3 into Dilation for 33% duration and mana efficiency. And everywhere we can, we're looking for mana efficiency. 5 into Infusion, which gives us a total of 250% extra fire damage while Flame Ward is active. And you'll see how that rotation works. When we go in for the big boss, we're going to teleport in, drop a Meteor, hit Flame Ward, and then start shooting fireballs, and our damage goes through the roof. We have 3 into Energize just for that ward per second, 2 into Recollection for ward retention, 3 into Elemental Damage Taken, -30. This replaces the -30% Elemental Damage Taken that we received from our gear when we were leveling, which we'll talk about later. And that is it, plus the 5 into Stalwart Defense for extra ward granted. Into Teleport, it's pretty basic. We have 5 into Ether Barrier, so we get that extra ward. 1 into Out of Mind, which we're probably going to drop. It's up to you if you want to drop this. We're not really scaling into Intelligence very highly, so the amount of ward this is giving us is kind of useless. We have 3 into Stable Bubble for that, again, extra ward retention. 5 into Elemental Affinity so that we do another 50% increased elemental damage. Then we do 5 into Resonant Plasma, so we get those 2 fire and lightning resistances plus stun avoidance, which is very helpful. And then 1 into Decoy Position, so we have a mirror image at departure. This is where I would say drop the Out of Mind. Throw that point up here into Unexpected Copy so that you have 2 copies or mirror images where when you teleport, both from where you teleport from and where you teleport to. They taunt for 10 seconds, so this is actually really, really good to keep the heat off of you while you're shooting fireballs out at everybody. Then early on for this entire build, we've had Volcanic Orb. This was our boss killer. We'd literally teleport in, hit Flame Ward, hit Volcanic Orb, and the boss would literally just disappear. And you can see right now we have flat 78,000 DPS, and of course by default this pierces all enemies. And it moves pretty slow, as you can see. So if you've got a big bunch of enemies and or a boss right there, especially the bigger their body size, the more this thing hits them. You just pop one of those and it shreds everything. And I'll show you how the damage scales when we pop Flame Ward and Meteor and Teleport in just a second. So we want to go into Meteor. We took 2 into Monolithic Eruption for that orb damage and shrapnel damage. We don't really use this for shrapnel, so that's kind of we don't care if we lose the frequency. 5 into Lava Flow for mana efficiency. This is really important early on because this is a mana-hungry skill. And then we went into 5 for Orb damage, so we get 125% extra damage. 2 into Volcanic Frenzy for cooldown recovery, which is fantastic. Right now we're at less than 0.8 seconds on cooldown, so we can spam that if we need to. And then we have Concentrated Effect, which gives us another 50% hit damage. And the final shrapnel is disabled. We have 4 into Volcanic Acceleration, so that our orb damage has another 100%, and it is 60% faster. And then 1 into Orb of Speed, which gives us another 25% damage, shrapnel damage 25%, explosive ground frequency 20%, and the duration is 2. We're not actually spec'd into explosive ground, but that's okay. You could always try to go this direction. You just need 1 point into Infernal Caster. But the mana cost jumps up really high, and then you get explosive ground. We didn't want the mana cost because mana was pretty heavy early on. And then finally, our stream, there's a stream follower called Jado who helped us out to think about using Meteor. So to be honest, I don't really even use Volcanic Orb anymore, and this is the one that's going to get swapped out eventually. But for right now, for early on, Volcanic Orb made leveling super fast. This is the fastest character I've leveled in Last Epoch yet. Finally, in a Meteor, we take 1 into Crushing Force so that we get extra % on damage and damage to full health enemies, which is fantastic. We get Craterborn, and this is where some of the magic starts happening for us. Craterborn increases fire damage by 150%. So when that Meteor hits on the ground and we stand in that crater, our damage goes up by 150%, right? We went from 33,000 sheet DPS to 44,000 sheet DPS, and that's without all of our other stacking. So you can see how that goes up really fast. So we have 5 into that, gives us also 20% cast speed, and we have 3 into Cycle of Fire so that we get ward gained and mana gained, which is always helpful. And then 1 into Celestial Celerity, which is cast speed, fall speed, and a little bit of mana cost. Once we get our 20th point into Meteor, we're going to pop it into Celestial Celerity. We have 1 into Force of Impact, which gives us a more stun chance. 4 into Extinction, which gives us a base crit chance of plus 8%. Large Meteor chance, 40%. And then the Large Meteor area of effect, 100%. And then, of course, World Ender. This isn't doing us any good just yet. As you can see, we're just shy of 400 mana. But once we grab that piece of equipment that gives us 400 mana, always crit when above 400 mana. So as a full mana, we want to get to about 430 mana, so that when we cast, or 410 mana, so that when we cast this, we're over 40, and it gives us that always crit, which is really sweet. So that is the skills we're using, and now let's talk about the passives. So we just put 26 into the base Mage, 8 into Scholar for the health and mana. We need mana throughout this whole thing, so make sure to get that. First, I would recommend 8 into Elementalist for 56% increased fire damage. We don't care about cold or lightning, but we wanted that 56% fire. Then we skip everything else and we just drop 10 into Knowledge of Destruction for that increased critical strike chance and multiplier. And then everything else goes into Sorcerer. So we cap out Calculated Destruction for another 160% increased spell crit chance. We get Brainstorm for spell damage and mana regen, which is super important. Mana Shell for 32 mana and armor. We have 1 into Arcane Momentum, so we're going to pump this full as we level up so we can get 25% increased cast speed. 7 into Wisdom right now. We may drop this a little bit, but we wanted that extra mana. 8 into Pyromancer for that increased fire damage and ignite chance. 5 into Lavamancer for that fire penetration. And don't forget, we already have some fire penetration on Fireball itself. So this is helping us a lot. We have 1 into Crackling Precision for that increased critical strike chance. This could get maxed out too when you're min-maxing this. But we just wanted to get that extra Arcane Obliteration for 50% crit multiplier. Then we pumped 4 into Recollection, which gives us 20% increased cooldown recovery, so that all of our skills can be cast sooner and faster. And then Archmage for adaptive spell damage plus 5, so that this value is tripled if we have over 200 maximum mana. So this is actually 15 increased adaptive spell damage, which gives us a pretty big boost to our damage. Now I will say early on I was leveling with Black Hole just to bump everything together and then spray them with fireballs. So again, it is going to be completely up to you what you swap out with Volcanic Orb, whether you decide to go with perhaps Focus and or Arcane Ascendance, which is really good because of the cast speed and massive amount of damage boost you get from that. But then you're stuck in place, you're not mobile. And this is a very mobile build, sorry. You're very squishy and you want to be moving. So that is our passives. We are, of course, going to cap out Arcane Momentum for this endgame build out, and then maybe add some more into Crackling Precision. I think I didn't tell you about Spellslinger. I apologize. That gives us another +5 to adaptive spell damage, plus another 15% mana regen. Super, super important on this build. Okay, so let's talk about our gear. And we'll talk about some of the other gear when we level. Don't judge on the idols. We'll talk about that in a second. But this leveled super, super fast. And then to the end game, we're still using the Calamity that we started out with at level 7. The only difference is we did have 1 legendary potential on this, so we popped in Vitality on top of it. I was really hoping for Pierce on Fireball, which you can get on helmets, so we're farming for that. All that's going to allow us to do is pull a couple points off Piercing Heat, and then put those wherever else we want, which we could put 1 back into Winged Fire for more speed and range and damage, 1 more back into Fire Resistant Shred. Really, that's kind of up to you. So Calamity was pretty important for us. You can actually put this on at level 7, which gives you fire damage, chance to ignite, and then increased fire spell cast speed. Super important. Just an amulet with spell critical strike chance, and we wanted that implicit cast speed. The throw. I mean, some of this stuff is junk, right? This is all replaceable. Our catalyst has elemental damage, but we really want as high implicit spell critical strike chance as possible. Just a good armor here that gives us +2 to Fireball. Really farming up a better one of these. We want that tier 7 +3 Fireball. But that increased spell damage is very sweet. Another wand, we're farming up. This is a crystal wand, but we're going to be farming up a Dragon Horn really soon, just for that adaptive spell damage, -3 spell mana cost, which is super important for this build. And then that increased fire damage and elemental damage over time. The shock and chill on hit needs to be replaced with something like resists, but you can kind of get whatever you want as long as you're trying to scale up fire damage and maybe crit chance or something better. Then we have Jewel Rose, which we are going to be crafting on top of this one soon. This is a level 40 bump in damage. So you get 21% of mana gained as ward, which is nice. You get 66% increased spell damage, but where this magic really starts to shine is that when you use a movement or time travel skill, all stats are tripled on this item for 4 seconds. Tripled. So imagine if you get a 3 or 4 legendary potential and you stack on a purple T5 ring that might have fire damage, it might have spell critical, or it might have multiplier. Critical strike multiplier would be huge. And because that triples. So you can see as we're base here at 33,000 damage, if we teleport, we get Jeweler's buffs, and that goes up to 39,000. So if you could triple the stats on all the other affixes that you can roll on top of this, unbelievably sweet. The belt, junk, right? We just wanted fire damage, mana regen, some health and resistances. Our other ring, which we're going to drop eventually, but this is a really nice set ring that gives us 38% increased fire damage as an implicit. Then we get chance to ignite, increased fire damage over time, +1 to flame ward, and 13% increased fire spell cast speed. So as we're spamming fireball, we're shooting really, really fast, and this is what makes it really good. And we actually lose a lot of damage and cast speed by pulling that off, right? And we lose that +1 to flame ward. So I want to keep that on. Gloves. Just going for cast speed on this one, critical strike chance. I would love to see maybe a crit multi instead of that 34% increased strike chance, because it doesn't do us a ton of good. But get resists where you can. Then we have the Eye of Erexia, which again we're going to get rid of because that's a Volcanic Orb, right? It makes our Volcanic Orb do more damage, travel faster, farther, and cut down our Volcanic Orb cooldown. So it goes pretty quick. If we don't have that, this is actually better as a boss killer without the Eye of Erexia, because it moves so slowly that it's constantly hitting large items, large bosses. So if it's like the big crab boss or even Lagon, that thing is going to hit them over and over again, and this thing has been critting for 50, 60,000 at times. There was a 32,000, 40,000, so it's a heavy hitter. But if you want just to clear out packs of enemies with it, it moves faster and does more damage. You can see we go from basically 79,000 down to 66,000. So it's a huge damage boost even for our fireball. Okay, So that's our gear. What we're really trying to farm up on the idol side is more of these arcane idols of pyromancy, because we get the increased fire damage, which is doubled if you have over 300 max mana. Right now we have 392. We're shooting for over 400. So if you had 4 of these at least 20 to 25%, that would be 100% increased fire damage, doubled when you're over 300 or 200 mana. So that's another 200% fire damage. Huge, huge damage. Okay. So here's how the rotation works with skills, passives, and gear, and how it makes your damage go up. So the first thing we want to do, if we know we're going to just clear out trash, just spam Fireball. It's enough damage to clear out anything. Even rares, it just doesn't matter. But if you got a heavier hitter boss, you can drop in a Meteor, teleport, or teleport out, drop in a Meteor, Flame Ward, and then shoot. So watch our damage. So base damage is 33,000 and 79,000. We teleport, Meteor, Flame Ward, we go to 132,000 and 56,000. 132,000 and 56,000. That was a huge jump in damage. So the way I'm killing bosses is exactly that. I clear the trash, I teleport in Meteor, Flame Ward, and shoot a Volcanic Orb, because it's 132,000. I haven't seen a rare or boss yet that doesn't literally just melt. And as soon as I cast Volcanic Orb, I'll show you again, teleport, Meteor, Flame Ward, just start shooting Fireball as your Volcanic Orb does, 50, 60,000 crit chance, or crit hits. So that is the base rotation. Fireball through your trash, teleport, Meteor, Flame Ward, and just start hitting stuff. That's 100,000 crits on Fireball right there. So fantastic amount of damage. You're doing burning for up in the 3,000 to 10,000 range constantly. So stuff literally just melts. So let's talk about leveling. This thing, again, was the fastest leveling character I've had to date in Last Epoch. It has been a blast to level. It was super fast. We went from 0 to 65 in a 6-hour stream. We could have gone farther, but there's a lot of talking, pausing, trying to figure stuff out. So the way it worked was, if you're able to find a Prism Wrap, which only requires level 5, throw that on, you get increased elemental damage, you take less elemental damage, you get 30% increased critical strike chance, and you're leeching elemental damage as health on crit. So as you begin to stack crit, this is a good leech for you in those early levels. Throw on a Calamity at level 7. This one requires 35 because it's actually a legendary, but throw on the Calamity Unique, which requires level 7. I rolled 80% fire damage. That can go all the way up to 120. I'm sorry, 80. I got the cap. You get 150 chance to ignite. You get 6% in cast speed. Ignore the when you kill an enemy with a fire skill, you take 4 damage over the next 2 seconds. That's 2 damage per second. Unless you're level 1, and even then you wouldn't notice it. It's just such a wasted affix. It doesn't matter. So throw in Calamity with a good, or level 5 wand that has -3 spell mana cost on it. Fireball will be free by level 10, and you'll be doing 1,000 DPS. By the time you hit level 40, you can throw on Cindersong. Now, Cindersong isn't as strong as one of the good wands, but early on, it gives you those -6 spell mana cost, which is super important early in the levels. Plus, you get the 2 additional Fireball projectiles. You get 130 increased fire damage, 21% chance to inflict Spreading Flames, which just, when you hit something, they ignite, and then that flame spreads out to others, and they just kind of start melting. But the big important here is the extra projectiles and -3 mana cost. Because as you start speccing into Fire Spray, your mana cost is going up from the default. And when I was leveling early, I actually went into Skier's Gambit for base crit chance. Anytime a node says base crit chance, it will make a massive change in your crit damage, and I'll show you why. We had 2 into Arcane Divergence for 4 more projectiles. And so we were actually shooting out 9 fireballs in a fan early on, and then we backed that back out, and we went up into the Embers and Dancing Fire, and then we got homing. You could do that early on if you want, but I think the leveling was faster because of all the extra projectiles just spraying out and hitting everything. Until you get the homing, it's a lot more difficult to kill stuff with Fireball. But I'll show you what I mean by base crit chance. Anytime it says base crit chance, which acts like an implicit, which is on here, we have 5% spell critical strike chance. I'm sitting at 44% crit strike chance right now. If I pull this off, look what happens just by that 5% base crit change. we go down to 22% crit strike chance. So that base crit strike chance acts as an implicit and makes a really big difference in your build. So again, by level 5, throw on the Prism Wrap. Level 7, you throw on Calamity. Get a good wand with minus spell cost. By level 40, you can throw on Cinder Song. By level 60, 65, you start farming up a good Crystal Wand. And then you are just literally spreading your fireballs all across the world of Atera after that. So leveling is super fast, super easy. So without further ado, let's go get into a Monolith. And make sure if you like this video, you hit the thumbs up, you subscribe to the channel. And also, we are Twitch streaming constantly. So if you'd like to see a Twitch stream of this build, we're going to be taking it up to Empowered later on this week. And you can follow along with that as we go. So let's do this. Let's hit a Monolith real fast and show you how she goes. Of course, this is not empowered yet, but you can just imagine with the kind of damage we're doing. Empowered, not a problem. The only thing you really have to watch out for is you are pretty squishy, so this is a run and gun. And I failed to talk about this transient rest boots. 56% of current mana gained is ward when you stop moving. So every time you stop, I just bumped up ward there. So you're constantly getting ward. And as we move, we teleport, we stop, we run gun. Our ward is always being filled up. Now watch this on Meteor. We'll just drop and dead. Didn't even cast Fireball. I just did a Meteor and then Volcanic Orb. Dead. Everything just melts. And then of course your homing action is super cool with Fireball. And I'm probably not going to finish this Monolith just because it's one of those spread out Monoliths. Just dies. Everything dies. Not a problem at all. Once you get the homing on your Fireball with the 100% chance to pierce, your Fireballs can all hit the same target. They're piercing through, hitting everything behind them, and seeking something to hit instead of being lost if you don't point it in the right direction. Super, super cool, super powerful. You saw how that just went out there and found a target. Very awesome. So again, we're going to teleport in. We'll drop a Meteor, Flame Ward, and just melt. Everything dies. Look at that. Just melts. We'll kill this last one real fast. So you can see this is a pretty fun build. Playstyle is a lot of fun. I actually think the visuals was better when I did not have fire in sequence. But that's okay. And there you go. There is a Monolith for you. So make sure to smash that like button. Subscribe to the channel if you want to see more. Catch us on Twitch. I'll have a link to that in the description below so that you can follow the channel there. Appreciate your support. Tell me in the comments what you think about this hot saucy fireballer. And if you have any tips and tricks on how to make it better and what you'd like to see next. Alright, that's it. Peace out.